Welcome to the first episode / trial run of Gotti's Corner. What is Gotti's Corner, you may ask? Well, let me tell you like this. Right now, gaming for me is at a complete stalemate. Yes, we've got the new systems. Yes, we've got some things to be excited for, but I can't seem to play anything right now that completely holds my attention. I just beat Mafia Definitive Edition on PC, and that game was awesome. Everything about it was awesome. Tried to jump over and play Mafia 2 Definitive, couldn't get into it. It doesn't look a whole lot better than the original, so I couldn't dig that. Tried to play Mafia 3, couldn't get into that, just way too repetitive. Tried to play GTA 5. I know, guys, it's blasphemous. I never beat GTA 5. To me, it's the worst GTA. All the bouncing around between characters and all this, I can't do it. Sorry, T, I can't do it. My homeboy, Mr. T-Tech, stays on my ass about not beating that game. I can't get into it. I can't do it. So I've been dipping into my backlog trying to find something. And what you see here, God of War, this is where I ended up. Now, I ended up here because the patch for the PS5 is awesome. Absolutely awesome. And most of you guys know by now that I rarely beat a game twice. I don't have time. I'm a full-time student trying to get this informatics degree. I don't have time. So I rarely beat a game twice. Now, back in the day when I was a kid, I'd beat a game 100 times. Know all the secrets, all the Easter eggs. You remember Mario 3, you could hop on the turtle's back on the stairs and get like a bazillion lives. All those kind of tricks. Walking through walls that you're not supposed to be able to. All these kind of things. But I don't have time anymore. But we are going to roll through God of War. May even stream it. But I have noticed one thing. I returned to Twitter, right? Now, Twitter isn't so bad if you regulate the shit out of your Twitter. And by regulating your Twitter, this is what I mean. You have got to mute anything stupid that you just do not want to deal with. Mute it. I'm not saying block, I'm saying mute. I think last time I checked, I had like 360 some accounts blocked. A lot of these accounts are cheerleaders for other people. A lot of these accounts are people with just absolute foolish nonsense, blockhead opinions. You guys know my thoughts on certain people having opinions. You know, I've said it a bazillion times on this channel. An opinion is not an opinion if it's just complete foolery. You got to have some basis for your so-called opinion for me to take it serious. If it's just completely stupid, it's not an opinion. And as you can see, the gameplay here freezes, and I've been praising the new share factory here lately, and what do you know, the gameplay freezes, but it'll start again. Just give it a second. So anyway, over on Twitter, I pretty much have my feed muted to the point that it's actually an enjoyable feed. The people that I interact with, I enjoy. I enjoy their posts, their takes on things, but every now and then things slip through the cracks. And yesterday we had State of Play. That State of Play, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give that State of Play about a 5 out of 10. Now, the very end is what made me smile. I thought Returnal looked awesome, by the way, but the very end is what made me smile, and that was the Final Fantasy VII upgrade announcement. Final Fantasy VII is free in March, by the way. If you haven't picked it up, go ahead and pick it up. But if you do get that version, keep in mind you will not get the free upgrade for the PS5. One of my good friends sent me the collector's edition, the disc set, which is absolutely an awesome set. Big shout out. He didn't want me to say his name, so I'm not gonna. But he sent me that, and it's awesome. And I own it digitally, so I'm good to go for the remake. But and I'm not even gonna call it a remake. I'm gonna call it a rework. So anyway, I start seeing these. For whatever reason, I start seeing people sharing, and I guess I just don't have these people weeded out either as far as followers and all this kind of thing. But I start seeing some things get through the cracks about some Xbox guys saying that it's no big deal. They're not impressed with what they're seeing with this Final Fantasy VII. Not impressed. I get it if you've already beat it and you don't care. I understand that part. But to turn around and say that you're not impressed blows my mind because these radical Xbox folks, they'll say that they're not impressed, but then they'll turn around and talk about how impressed they are about a 20-year-old Xbox game having auto HDR, native 4K, higher frames. They love it. They love it. They can't get enough of it. They may have beat it 50 times 15, 20 years ago, but they love it now. It's awesome. But yet the Final Fantasy VII Remake is nothing to be happy about. That, my friends, is the definition of not only hypocrisy, but it's the exact blueprint of why that mute tab works like a dream over on Twitter. And I highly recommend that you guys use it because to me, it makes no sense. Look, guys, this works both ways. I have a Series X. I think auto HDR and older games getting it native 4K and higher frames, I think it's an awesome feature. Do I use it? I don't play a lot of older shit. So no, I don't use it. But I think it's an awesome feature to have. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not a great feature just because I prefer one platform over the other, which I don't, as you guys know. I play it all. Which brings me to my next point on Twitter. Twitter was on fire last week, guys, and the big topic were that PlayStation games were heading over to PC. So there's a lot of different ways you can look at this. There's a whole lot of different ways you can look at this. The way I look at it is, if you have the means, if you can have a Series X, a PC, which one could argue that if you have a PC, that there's no reason to even have a Series X. I get that part too. But if you can have a Series X, a PC, and a PlayStation, it should not matter where games are to you at all. It should not matter. And to me, having a PC, a PS5, a Series X, it does not matter. I do not care what games go where. I don't give a shit because there's the options. Now, the second way to look at that is that let's say you prefer PlayStation, right? You prefer it. That's the only option you have, maybe. Let's say you prefer the Series X. That's the only option you have. My question to you is, why do you care if games from those two systems go to PC? You've got these new systems which to me are great upgrades as far as last gen goes. You're getting games that look gorgeous. You're getting 60 FPS. Games are great on these consoles. So why would you care if these games are going to PC? You're still going to get to enjoy the game. You're still going to play it at 60 frames. Most of you console guys don't care, didn't know about 60 frames, all the way up until the end of last gen when Digital Foundry started telling you about 60 frames to begin with. But you're still going to get to play these games. It doesn't matter if the PC is getting these games. Now, is the PC going to have the better version? Absolutely. But guys, this is what I've been trying to tell you since I got into PC gaming almost, 5 years ago. This is what a lot of people, Hard 8, a lot of these guys try to tell you this on Twitter. PC will always have the best version of any game that's on the platform. Multi-platform games have always been better on PC. Exclusive games to PlayStation will be better on the PC than they are on the PS5, but that should not take away from your enjoyment of the game if you can still play the game at 60 frames with HDR, looking great on the PlayStation. Shouldn't matter. People get so mad about the dumbest shit. I've never seen anything like it. Never seen anything like it. Makes no sense. One thing about PC gaming right now that does make me mad is this graphics card situation. I recently upgraded. It was time to get a new motherboard, so I grabbed the Rogue Strix from Asus, and I love it. Absolutely love the B550 gaming motherboard. It looks good in my system. Definitely, I just like the aesthetic of the motherboard, so I went ahead and I grabbed a Ryzen 3900X, which is an absolute monster of a CPU. I've already got the 32 gigs of RAM running at 3200 megahertz. Still satisfied with the case, the Fantex P350X that I upgraded to a while back. I'm totally happy with my system other than my GPU. Now, a lot of you guys are going to say, Gotti, you got a 2070 Super. What are you upset about when it comes to your GPU? Well, let me tell you guys something. The version of the 2070 Super that I have, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I will never, ever buy another MSI graphics card ever again in my history of PC gaming, ever. This is an MSI Ventus OCGP, and I don't know what they've done as far as the voltages or what's going on with this GPU, but the thermals have always been horrible. I took it apart. I reapplied new. I put some Arctic Silver thermal paste on it, put it back together. It maybe helped the temperatures a couple degrees, really no difference at all. So what I ended up having to do, I have a video, it's got like 40,000 hits. That video I should just take down, because what I ended up doing was I've just tweaked the voltages a little bit and dropped the power limit, and that keeps my temperatures, my thermals under control. But I shouldn't have to do that. I've never had to do that with the GPU. I've always used EVGA cards. This was the only 2070 Super that I could find. I couldn't find the XT Ultra 2070 Super at the time, so I ended up with this one, and I hate this card. There's no RGB on the front, no light up. It just looks like a plain. Does have a back plate that doesn't look bad, but it just looks like a plain card. I've had to ramp up the fan curve, so when I'm gaming, when this thing hits 70 degrees, my fans are running at 80% on this card, and it sounds like a jet engine. You guys think that your PS4 Pro sounded like it was going to blast off? You should hear this graphics card. I hate this GPU. That being said, couldn't get my hands on a 3070, couldn't get a 3080. Of course, that's totally impossible now. So they announced the 3060. It's going to drop. I start looking at benchmarks, the very few that you could find. One of them was Ashes of the Singularity, which really you can't take a lot from that because that's a heavily CPU-based game. So I wait to, I think the day of, videos start dropping on YouTube. Bitwit put one out, Paul's Hardware put one out, Gamers Nexus, and all these guys are saying that you're pretty much getting 2070 performance and sometimes 2070 super performance. So I thought, maybe I'll just grab this 3060 for now. It's a $329 card. If I can get one for that price, I'll grab one of those for now. I'll resell my Ventus. I'll throw my 2070 Super on eBay for $600, buy it now, and it'll sell just like that. Because 2070 Supers are going for over $1,000 right now on eBay. So, which that's another thing. On Twitter, I've seen so many people yesterday, so many people that just clearly don't know what they're talking about, saying that the 3060 is being beat by the 2060, by the 1080, just the dumbest shit you've ever seen in your life. When all you got to do is click on one of these guys that has vast knowledge, the guys I mentioned earlier, Gamers Nexus, these guys, listen to what they have to say, pay attention. Read the graphs, and you'll see that the 3060 is basically a 2070 and sometimes has the performance of a 2070 Super. Anyway, we strayed a little bit there, but so anyway, I decide, okay, fuck it. I'm going to buy it. I'll keep it. I'll hang on to it until I can get my hands on a 3070 or a 3080, and then I'll just sell this piece of shit Ventus that I have. I hate the cooler. So I jump on Best Buy, get queued up. I think it's right around 12:15 when the yellow bar, place your order, place in cart, finally pulls up. I click it. It sticks me in a queue. Says that the queue will turn yellow once the card's available. And what do you know? It sells out. Completely sells out. So I start refreshing the page, and I start noticing 3070s pop up. I see a couple 3080s pop up. So I try to grab those. Same shit. They put you in a queue. They sell out. So I give up on Best Buy. I think I spent a good 45 minutes refreshing. trying to pick a card up on Best Buy. Figured out that wasn't going to happen. I thought we may as well enter the Newegg Shuffle. So I jump over, I enter the Newegg Shuffle, I select the 3060 XC, and I select a 3070 XC. Now, what happens with this Newegg Shuffle? You pick what you want. If you get selected, they email you. They say, hey, you've been picked, and you have so much time to throw the item in your cart and buy it. What do you know? I didn't get picked. Now, granted, it's like winning the lottery, but I figured, why not try? So the point being is, the graphics card situation is so bad right now that if you are a PC gamer, which I am for the most part, primarily PC is where I play my games, and you want a new GPU, it is almost virtually impossible to get a GPU right now. If you look on eBay right now, I guarantee you will see 3060s going for $1,500. This was a $329 graphics card, guys. NVIDIA, you have got to do something. You have got to do something. You have got to structure your releases somehow, work with these other retailers, do whatever you have to do to get your cards into the hands of gamers. Now, I understand why you don't care. They don't care because they don't care whose hands these cards are going into. They just know they're selling out of cards. And that's all they care about. And I get it. That's the business model. That's what it's about, is making money. But it's also about keeping a particular part of your fan base happy, because these miners, they don't give a shit about gaming. They don't. They have total other motives for buying these GPUs. NVIDIA, you've got to focus on the gamers. You've got to at some point. You've got to get, and I know their answer is putting out old SKUs of older cards. That's not the answer. That's not the answer. I want a new card. I don't want the old shit. I want a new card. So the GPU situation right now when it comes to PC gaming, it's a mess, and it's got to be fixed. That's just where I'm at with that. I was going to touch on some other things as far as Twitter goes, but I don't want to really get too deep into that. It's just a situation that I don't really want to talk about. But you got a whole lot of cheerleading going on over on Twitter. That's another bad thing about Twitter. You got guys that, people that will just follow certain, whether it be YouTubers or whether it be just certain people on Twitter. Anyway, it's just, to me, a whole lot of fake going over on Twitter. We won't get into any of that. But like I said earlier in the video, if you can mute your feed, if you can dictate what you see, Twitter can be a great social media platform. I hate Facebook. I fucking hate it. You could never pay me $1 million to go back to Facebook. I've been off of there for years and years. But Twitter is much more manageable. So the other thing I want to talk about is something that I've been doing here lately. Guys, I've been buying the shit out of 4K Blu-rays. Buying the shit out of them. If I can look up here, I've got the Amazing Spider-Man 2 movie collector's edition. We just picked up Top Gun. We got The Dark Knight. We got The Wizard of Oz, 310 to Yuma, Spider-Man Homecoming, Joker, Jaws Collector's Edition, 3 from Hell, American Psycho, Casino, Scarface Gold Edition, Terminator 2, John Wick 3, Total Recall, Rambo 2008, I think it is, Hacksaw Ridge, Saving Private Ryan, and Apocalypse Now, and I've got 3 more coming. My girl just ordered The Labyrinth. I don't know how I feel about that. I've never seen The Labyrinth. She loves that movie. And I also ordered 1917 and let's see what else. I ordered 1917, and let me pull my Amazon up. These should be coming tomorrow. 1917 and Man of Steel. I love Man of Steel. I don't care who wants to hate on it. To me, that movie is awesome. So those are going to be the next 3 additions to the collection. I just been on this kick because when you watch some of these old classics in 4K and HDR, it's like a totally different experience. I was using the PS5 as my player, and this is something I don't know what's going on here. I jump over to the Series X, and when I initially got my Series X on launch day, I tried out a 4K movie. Worked great. Tried a couple more, wouldn't even play, froze up. So I thought, okay, must be something going on. The app, it needs an update. I waited a while, moved my setup around, got everything hooked back up. I thought, let me see if this is fixed, the issue. Popped in a movie, it worked great. So I was using the Series X as my 4K Blu-ray player just to keep a little bit less wear on my PS5. And then last night we're watching, the old lady and I were watching Amazing Spider-Man 2, and all of a sudden the Xbox just turns off. The Series X just crashes. Mid-movie, just crashes. So I pull the plug, pull the HDMI, do all the troubleshooting that the internet will tell you to do, the Xbox forums, plug it back up, same thing. Crashes. Movie comes back on, says, do you want to resume? I hit play, crashes. So let me just tell you guys, the 4K Blu-ray player in the Series X is a certified piece of trash. Now, I started thinking, is this something going on with my disk drive? So I pop in some games, they work great. I thought, is this something going, is it hardware based? Is something going on? Granted, my system should not be getting pushed at all just by watching a movie. So I boot up a demanding game, The Division 2. I start playing it, zero issue. Go back to the Series X, pop in a movie, boom, my console turns off. So, needless to say, we will not be using the piece of shit 4K Blu-ray player inside the Series X anymore for movies. I will be getting a standalone on down the road. I want one that supports Dolby Vision. I don't think the PS5 supports Dolby Vision, but so I'll be getting a standalone. But for now, we're gonna stick with the 5 when it comes to 4K movies. But that's been my latest almost obsession, is just daily I jump on Amazon, I filter it to 10, 15, $20, go through there and look, and you can find some great deals on 4K Blu-rays, and you just can't beat physical media, guys. I know you can stream movies in 4K, but there's nothing better than popping in a 4K Blu-ray in HDR and enjoying it, especially on some of these classic flicks. So that's where I'm at with that. But last thing I want to touch on, guys, is life. You know, I've met a lot of good people through the YouTube gaming community. I met a lot of bad people, but I met a lot of good people. Um, Met a lot of good people just in gaming in general. My best friend in the real world, I actually met him back in 2005 with Fight Night. Fight Night on the Xbox 360. It's so funny how things work. And I consider him a brother to this day. I do anything for him. I'm here for him. Jado. Shout out to my man Jado, man. I do anything for you. Met a lot of good people on Twitter. There's a lot of funny people, a lot of funny people that I follow that follow me back. But one thing I've learned, guys, is you have to tread lightly on social media when it comes to people who you decide to let into your circle. Now, have I had any real bad experiences? No. Do I hate anybody that I've met that I considered a friend that I may no longer speak to? Things like that? No, I don't hate anybody, but I realize motives. I see motives. Um, I see where certain loyalty stands, things like this, and I've been let down a lot. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I've been let down, but I haven't had any super terrible fallouts or anything like that. There's no one that I hate, that I would wish anything bad on. I wish the best for everybody, but I've also had fallouts where, you know, certain people, I've spoke with them, really just one person in general, a fallout when we spoke, and now we're back on good terms. I consider him a good buddy, that kind of thing. So I just want to tell you guys that when it comes to social media, it works about like life, only faster. In life, the older you get, the more you realize that there's very few people that you can trust. And the more you realize that the older you get, the smaller your circle gets. You may have homies that you hung out with all through high school, from grade school all through high school that, you know, I hate to say this, guys, but at the risk of sounding like the introvert that I am, if I go to the store and I see somebody that I may have hung out with every day in high school, I'll go the other direction. Um, Different interests, different paths, and there's people that do the same thing. I've seen guys that I would have went to war for in high school that they act like they don't even know who I am when I see them in public. They act either too good. One of them is a fireman in town now, and I don't know. I would never even speak to him if I seen him in public. So what I'm trying to say, guys, is the older you get, the smaller that circle is going to get. And when it comes to this social media thing, you guys really need to be leery of who you let into your circle. If you have fallouts, I'm not saying that it's not impossible to rekindle those friendships. If you guys can hash it out like adults, talk about it. Like I said, there's one gentleman who I consider a buddy. He and I did that recently. Over the last couple of months, we got back together around Thanksgiving time, spoke, hashed it out. We're good. I never held any resentment towards him anyway, but we hashed it out and now we're back on good terms. But anyway, guys, that's the first episode of Gotti's Corner. Like I said, we're not going to call this a podcast. I'm going to do this we're going to try this for a week. We're going to see if this gets any hits. I doubt it will. You guys know this channel is such a small channel. Nobody really wants to hear this kind of thing. Nobody wants to just sit around and talk, but I'm open to having people on. So if there's anybody that wants to maybe come on here and talk games, talk movies, talk life, not necessarily even movies, because the buddy I was speaking of, he wants to do a movie oriented show. So I don't want to delve too much into that. I don't want to, that's his thing. And plus he's probably the biggest, most knowledgeable movie guy that I know. But I'm willing to talk about anything, guys. Mainly games, because obviously this is a gaming-oriented channel. But if you guys want to get on here on Gotti's Corner, you guys want to wrap it up, talk games, talk shit, hit me up on Twitter, Gotti360. Follow me, whatever you got to do. If you don't want to follow me, just hit me in the DMs, and we'll talk about getting together and talking some shit. But that's where I'm at. Let me know what you guys think about this kind of new little format we're trying out down in the comment section. As always, chime in, as I've always said. It's been great talking with you guys this morning. We're using the Pulse 3D headset right now. We're using the mic on it. It may sound like shit once I get this uploaded. If it does sound like shit, let me know. And what I'll do is I'll just transfer over to my PC and I'll re-record the audio with my Snowball mic, my Yeti, on my PC if the mic quality sounds like shit. So let me know what you think. I'm going to let you guys go. Chime off in the comment section. It's been Gotti's Corner episode 1. Keep it gaming as always. And I'll holler at you guys in the next one. I'm out.